what we are doing confidence interval. So do you like to see the difference between confidence interval and p-values, and also that
Yeah, sir. It will be very important, sir.
you know,
Yeah,
so later, otherwise it will again and again coming into the mind and creating trouble. So let us see, uh, because some confusions are there uh, regarding the p-values and critical values. Okay, so quickly I am explaining, though the details we will see when we study hypothesis test. But meantime, let us briefly understand these three concepts: critical value, confidence interval, and p-values. Okay, so confidence interval so far we have seen. Okay, uh, that is subjected to confidence level so confidence level, okay, and that confidence level is denoted by 1 minus alpha, okay, and for this confidence level we find 1 minus alpha into 100% confidence interval. Okay, so we have seen generally we find 99% confidence interval, 95% confidence interval, 90%, or in between any number can be taken. Okay, so this interval. So for this, what we do, suppose we want 95% confidence interval, then our alpha would be, for this 95%, alpha would be 0.050. Okay, and if we want to find two-sided, let us discuss only two-sided confidence interval and two-sided hypothesis test, and for that we'll see. So this alpha is equal to 0.050. So in case of two-sided, we use this geometry. So we know that this is say Z curve, then Z is equal to 0. And what we do? We do this. And these points are denoted by Z alpha by 2. And because it is symmetric, it will be, sorry, this is Z minus Z alpha by 2. Okay. So we have seen the definition of Z alpha by 2. It is the point such that the area in the right is alpha by 2. So this area is alpha by 2. So these points, which points? Z alpha by 2 and minus Z alpha by 2. Similarly, in case of T distribution, T alpha by 2 minus T alpha by 2, because T curve is also symmetric. So these points are called critical values. Okay. Okay. So in case of confidence interval, our interval is actually minus Z alpha by 2 to Z alpha by 2, such that P capital Z lies between these two, Z alpha by 2 is equal to 1 minus alpha. This is the condition we use, or we solve this equation to find the interval. Now the same values, same critical values are used in case of two-sided hypothesis test. Okay. So this is the equation we find confidence interval here. But in case of hypothesis test, what we do, just see. So this you can see here. So we have okay. So again we have two approaches here: critical value approach and p-value approach. So let us first see the critical value approach.
सर जी वो थोड़ा H0 और H1 जो है वो भी पता नहीं है सर अभी लड़कों को हमारे को, तो थोड़ा एक बार बता देंगे तो अच्छा रहेगा। नल हाइपोथेसिस और उसका H0 और जो
That we will discuss in details. Just
ओके सर।
I am giving the interpretation of these numbers actually, how they are used in the confidence interval, how these numbers are used in hypothesis test, and how we calculate p-values. Just I am brief introduction of this.
Sure, sure, sir. No problem.
Details we will see it, definitely that null hypothesis we have separate at least 4 or 5 lectures I will take. Okay, so all this is specifically for confidence interval actually, but since these things are coming in mind, so what is p-value, what is therefore I am just giving the 3 things together. Okay, so confidence interval we have seen, you can see these numbers actually. Z value, Z alpha by 2 is here, Z alpha by 2 minus Z alpha. This is for two-sided confidence, hypothesis test. This figure is for. This is for two-sided. It is written here actually. Two-tailed or two-sided. Okay, so same numbers you can see, Z alpha by 2 minus Z alpha by 2, and therefore the area between these two numbers is our acceptance region. Okay, so from this is our acceptance region. Okay, and right of Z alpha by 2 and left of minus Z alpha by 2 are rejected region. Okay, so if the value lies here, we reject a null hypothesis, though that we'll see in detail later on. Okay, so these numbers which are called critical value are used in hypothesis like this. Okay, now which two numbers are compared? Okay, so for example, you can see this problem. Okay. So this problem is not there here. So this is actually, let us take this problem. Okay, this is Jack tells Jean that his average drive of a golf ball is 275 yards. Okay, now Jean is skeptical and asks for substantiation. To that end, Jack hits 25 drives. The result in yards are shown in this table. Okay, so 25 drives. These are the numbers. Okay, in yards or meter, whatever it is. Okay, so for this we have alternate and null hypothesis. So this is Jack's claim actually, that his average drive is 275 yards, but Jean suspect that it may be less than 275. Okay, and so this, okay. So what we have a 25, n is equal to 25. Okay, and the x bar we can calculate from these 25 numbers. Okay, so if we use actually some standard deviation is given, let us see. Okay, not given. Okay, so it is not given, and therefore I think this sigma x bar is actually this sigma here is probably calculated from the this 25 values. Okay, so this is actually t-test, not Z test, though it is written Z here. Okay. So I don't know what it is. I will see it later. So what we do, we calculate this Z value or T value for the given data. Now this number is compared with critical value. This is one approach of hypothesis test. Okay. So for two-sided, we have Z alpha by 2 and minus Z alpha by 2. All right. So if this value of Z is greater than Z alpha by 2 or less than minus Z alpha by 2, then we reject the null hypothesis. Clear? So in this way, we use this Z alpha by 2. And here again, this alpha is there. So this is predefined number. Okay. This alpha is there. But in case of p value, most of the time we don't use this alpha. Okay. So again, in case of p, we use this number Z. And how this number is used, just see. So you see this figure. Yes. So these are for two-sided or two-tailed. So this is Z0. That number is calculated there. This is minus Z0. Okay. So here p value is actually, this is sum of these two areas. Sum of the area in the right of Z0 and the left of Z0. So that will be actually 2 times, we can say probability Z greater than or equal to Z0, right? Or mod Z0, whatever it is. So this is a P Z greater than or equal to Z0 is the right area. And because it is symmetric, left is same, and therefore p value is actually this value. Now there are different approaches I have seen. Okay, one approach is this. This is say 0.01, and then we have a 0.10. Okay, so if the p value is greater than 0.10, we accept the null hypothesis. P is, or p value rather, p value is greater than 0.10, we accept the null hypothesis. And if it is less than 0.01, we reject. Okay. This is one approach in many books I have seen this. Okay. Other approach is we use this alpha. Okay. For example, in this book, you can see that this alpha is actually here. In confidence interval, we have confidence level. But in case of hypothesis test, we have significance level. This you can see that. So significance level, 1% significance level, 5% significance level, maybe 10% significance level. So here we have significance level, and in case of confidence interval, we have confidence level. Okay, that confidence level is 1 minus alpha, and so there in percentage is actually 99%. So we can say 99% confidence interval, but it is 1% significance level. Okay, this is a 95% confidence interval, 5% significance level, like this. So in case of 5%, the value of alpha is same for both. You can see that alpha is 0.05, and here in case of 95% confidence interval, again the value is same, alpha 0.05. So this alpha is used in some cases in to decide whether to accept null hypothesis or reject. For example, you can see that what it says, we see that p greater than alpha. So what is alpha? Alpha is this values corresponding to 5% significance level. the value of alpha is 0.05, and therefore if the p-value is greater than 0.05, we accept the null hypothesis. Do not reject the null hypothesis. Okay. Otherwise, reject. So if alpha is 0.01, that is in the case of 99% confidence interval or 1% significance level. So if alpha is 0.01, so in this case, what will be our conditions? Conditions would be if p is greater than 0.01, we will reject the null hypothesis. And if it is greater than 0.01, we accept the null hypothesis. But in some authors have used this. I have just told you 0.01 and 0.10. They don't say anything about this region. If the p-value lies between this, then they say that the case is suspectible or undecided what to do. Okay, but clear-cut decision is that if p-value is greater than 0.10, we accept the null hypothesis. Less than 0.01, reject. So this is a between p-values and critical values. So I hope I have what I should say, able to satisfy your queries somewhat.
यस सर, तो थोड़ा हाइपोथेसिस टेस्टिंग करेंगे तब और थोड़ा क्लियर हो जाएगा.
क्लियर हो जाएगा. सो मैंने तीनों चीजें, अदरवाइज कई बुक्स में क्या दिया हुआ है कि तीनों चीजें एक साथ लेके चला है, कॉन्फिडेंस इंटरवल भी, पी वैल्यूज भी और क्रिटिकल वैल्यू, मतलब हाइपोथेसिस टेस्ट दोनों और कॉन्फिडेंस इंटरवल भी. तो मैंने सोचा कि तीनों एक साथ लेके चलेंगे तो बहुत ज्यादा कंफ्यूजन होगा करके फिर मैंने कॉन्फिडेंस इंटरवल उससे अलग कर लिया है और हाइपोथेसिस टेस्ट के जो दो अप्रोचेस हैं, पी वैल्यूज और क्रिटिकल वैल्यूज, उसको सेपरेट कर दिया है. ओके, सो अभी
ये सही अप्रोच है सर.
अभी क्या कहते हैं, हम केवल कॉन्फिडेंस इंटरवल पे कॉन्सेंट्रेट करें. एंड द वेरी सिंपल इक्वेशन इज दिस वन, दैट इज पी z, capital Z lies between Z alpha by 2 minus Z alpha by 2 is 1 minus alpha. This equation we will be using for every parameter. Okay, whether it is mean or 2 mean or that proportion or 2 proportion, standard deviation, 2 standard deviation. Every case you will see that we have this type of equation at the beginning, and then we do algebraic manipulation to get the confidence interval. Okay, so last time we have seen these values, and we were just starting this example. Okay, so I think let us see this, because we'll be doing two-sided confidence interval and Z curve first and then later on T curves. So this is the lower and upper limit of the interval, x bar minus sigma by root n Z alpha by 2 and x bar plus sigma by root n Z alpha by 2. And how this interval is obtained, that we have seen. Okay, so I'm not going into that. So there you can see that, and then we are discussing the case when we know the standard deviation. Okay, we know the standard deviation of the population. This sigma is the standard deviation of the population, and then n is the number of elements in the sample. This x bar is the mean of the sample, and this alpha by 2 is predefined number. Okay, if we want to find 1 minus alpha 100% confidence interval, then it is alpha. Okay, so all these things will be more clear in these problems. Okay, so for example, this is a simple number theoretic problem, no physical significance. Okay, so let us first see this. So what it says, sample, a random sample of size n is equal to 20. Now you can see that this is a small sample because n is 20 here. from a normal population, but it is given that population is normal with the variance sigma square is equal to 225. Okay, so from this we can use Z test or Z curve to find the confidence interval, because the population is normal. Because in the assumption you can see that what we have assumed that population is either a normal population or sample is large sample. So at least one condition is satisfied here. Normal population is there, though the sample is a small sample, no problem. We know standard deviation. Had it been not known, then we could have used T curve. Okay, but since sigma is also given and its population is normal, we can use Z curve. So all the things are given here. You can see that n is 20, sigma is 15, and x bar is also given, and 95% confidence interval is there, and therefore alpha is equal to 0.50, and that gives Z alpha by 2. If you see the tables there, okay, where it is just there, Z alpha by 2 for 95% is 1.96. Okay. So this is 1.96. So now you can substitute all these values. What we have x bar minus sigma upon root n Z alpha by 2. So sigma is there, n is there, x bar is there, and Z alpha. So you just substitute here all the things. This you can see that. So we get this interval. All right.
सर एक छोटा सा ये रिक्वेस्ट था कि सर ये Z अल्फा बाय 2 का वैल्यू कैसे आया, ये थोड़ा सा कंफ्यूजन है सर, एक बार और शॉर्ट में बता दीजिए।
Yes, yes, sure.
ये 1.96 कहाँ से एकदम से आ गया है, तो थोड़ा सा शॉर्ट में बता।
So you see, we are using normal curve. Okay. So this is my Z is equal to 0, and say this is Z alpha by 2. So what is Z alpha by 2 is? It is the point, this point, such that the area in the right of this is alpha by 2. All right. Now this alpha by 2. So we are using normal curve, and therefore we can use the normal table. Okay. So this area is alpha by 2, and if you see the normal table, what it gives this area. There are two types of normal table. Okay, but the one which we use here in these PPTs are actually, for example, if this number is Z0, okay, so phi Z0 is actually this area, cumulative distribution. All right. So you can see that what I want area in the right, and that area should be alpha by 2. Okay. So, and total area is 1. All right. So this much area, which is here, for example, let me say it. This area. This area is 1 minus alpha by 2. Okay. Now here, alpha by 2, as we have seen, alpha is equal to 0.05. So alpha by 2 will be 0.025. So this is actually 1 minus 0.025. So what will be, this one will be, this is 5, right? Then 7 and then 9. This, so this area, green area, is actually, what is this area? 0.975. So this is area. So in the table, you search this value. Okay, let me see if I can get the table here. Normal T alpha. This is the area under the normal curve. Okay. Now, which area, which value we want? We want 0.975. This is area. Area is equal to this much. Now, these numbers are area actually. They represent area. See, just search this value, 0.975. So you can see that 92, 93, 94, 96, 975, exactly this value is there here. I hope it is visible, 0.975. Now corresponding to this, what is the value object? So you can see that if you come across this horizontal line here, this value is 1.9 here. Okay. Now if you move vertically upward, the value is 0.06 here. You just add these two values, 0.06. So that is equal to 1.96.
Yeah, thanks sir. समझ में आया अभी.
Okay. So in this way, all the values are determined. So this 1.96 is there. Okay. Now let us see this second problem. So an industrial designer wants to determine the average amount of time it takes an adult to assemble an easy to assemble toy. Okay. Now use the following data, a random sample, to construct a 95% confidence interval for the mean of the population sampled. Okay. So again, you can see that how many values are there? It is definitely more than 30. 36 values are there. Okay. So 36 a large sample, we can use a Z interval. Okay. Large sample, we can use Z curve or normal curve. Okay. Though here standard deviation is not given, even then we will use Z curve. Okay. And in place of sigma, what we do, we use the standard deviation obtained from the sample. Okay, that is called sample standard deviation. All right. So this is 95%. So you can use here Z alpha by 2 will be 1.96. N is 36 here. X bar we can calculate. And similarly, we can calculate this. This is sample standard deviation. Sample ST. So we can use this table to find the sample standard deviation. So we are using the Z curve, not using T curve, because it is this sample is large sample. Okay. So everything is there. You can see that this is not sigma, but this is S 5.7. All right. And therefore, we are 95% sure that average amount of time required to assemble the die is between these two numbers or minutes, 18.05 minutes to 21.79 minutes. And what is our confidence? Confidence is 95%. So in this way, sigma is known or sigma is not known, but the sample is large, we can use jet curves. Okay. Now next step we have sigma is unknown. So when sigma is unknown, we have already seen this is nothing but value like z x bar minus mu upon sigma upon root n. This is actually z. Okay. So when sigma is not known, we use sigma. We use s in place of sigma, and so it becomes x bar minus mu upon s upon root n. Okay, and we have seen that this is actually T curve or T distribution having degree of freedom n minus 1. So this n minus 1 is degree of freedom. All right. So again the same definitions. So here we use T alpha by 2, and we also in some books this n minus 1 is written with this. In some other books you may find n minus 1 is missing. They simply say T distribution is degree of freedom is n minus 1. Okay, and they simply write T alpha by 2 like Z alpha by 2. So in different books you may find different notations, and therefore you just so again you can see that. So here what we do. So this is our T curve here. And since
T curve कैसे आ गया? इसमें number of sample size small है क्या? मतलब how is it T curve?
Yeah. It will be small, and also sigma is not known. Okay. If sigma is known, and it is known that population is normal. Okay. Then we can use Z.
Right, sir.
Okay. So there are different but you can see that so far we have discussed these two things. I think. Let me classify this. That is a small sample, population is normal, we have used Z curve. Okay. Second problem we have seen large sample. Okay, it doesn't give say anything about a population, but since the sample is large, we can use Z curve. Okay. And third could be very straightforward. Okay. Normal population. In both the cases, we have seen that I think in one of the case sigma is given. In the large sample case, sigma is not given. Okay. Though even then we use Z curve and we use the sample standard deviation in place of population standard deviation. Okay. And third is all the things are favorable. Sigma is given, population is large. Okay, then we can use Z curves. So here now we are our objective here will be most probably sample will be a small sample. Okay, and the small sample then n sigma is also not known. and we also don't know anything about the population, then what to do? Okay, if you know population is normal and the sample is drawn from that population, then we can use Z curves. Okay, so there are many if and buts here. So let us, the only difference between Z curve and T curve is that we use sample standard deviation here. Okay. So here we use again 1 minus alpha. So this is point T alpha by 2, and this is the point minus T alpha by 2. So same approach. Okay. And then this is minus T alpha by 2, this is plus T alpha by 2, and this is our statistics T n minus 1. So T n minus 1 lies between this, and we simplify this. So we get this interval. So this is our interval. Okay. Lower limit and upper limit. So this two-sided interval is this one. Okay. Similarly, we can find one-sided. Okay. I'm not going into the details of these intervals. Okay. Let us concentrate only on the two-sided. Okay. So this is important here. We should read first what it says. Students' T distribution is appropriate whenever the sample comes from a population that is approximately normal. It is appropriate whenever the sample comes from a population that is approximately normal. Sometimes one knows from past experience whether a process produces data that are approximately normally distributed. Okay. In many cases, however, one must decide whether a population is approximately normal by examining the sample. Okay. So we see the sample, we examine it and decide whether population could be approximately normal or not. Okay. Unfortunately, when the sample size is small, departure from normality may be hard to detect. Okay. So there are some methods given here, some way to proceed to construct a box plot or dot plot, okay, or that normal probability curve we can draw to decide whether the given sample is approximately normal or not. Okay, so we can use these techniques to decide, and once it is sure that it has come from population which is approximately normal or the sample is normal, we can use this test. Okay, so we'll see one problem here. I think this fourth one is there. So here you can see that a normal probability curve is drawn. Okay, and from this we say that these points follow the normal distribution, and therefore we can use the T curve. Okay, but before that, let us see this problem. So what is this? So 12 test areas. So you can see that the sample is a small sample. We have only 12. So a paint manufacturer wants to determine the average drying time of a new interior wall paint. If for 12 test areas of equal size, he obtained a mean drying time of 66.3 minutes and a standard deviation of 8.4 minutes. Okay, so construct a 95% confidence interval for the true mean of mu. Okay, so again 95% is there, and therefore alpha by 2 will be 0.025. And therefore we have to find the value T 0.025. And since number of samples is 12, and therefore degree of freedom will be 11. Okay, so we need this value. This value will obtain from the table, T table. Okay, X bar is given, standard deviation is given. Okay, so you can see that it is written here. In fact, the value is 2.201. This we can obtain from T table. Okay, so the table that we have seen here, this is a normal, and here FT alpha, you can see that this degree of freedom is there, and then T 0.025 is there. So this table we can use. This is our T 0.025, and this is degree of freedom is 11 here. And if you move here and vertically here, we get this value 2.201. Okay, so 2.201 is the
सर ये डिग्री ऑफ फ्रीडम हमेशा जो सैंपल साइज है उसमें से एक घटाने से आ जाएगा, राइट?
yeah.
12 है तो डिग्री ऑफ फ्रीडम 11 हो जाएगा, राइट?
Yeah.
थैंक्स.
So in this problem now everything is every value is obtained. Okay, so just substitute here. This is X bar. This is T alpha by 2. This is standard deviation, and this is root of n. Okay, so n is 12. So you can calculate these values, and we get this 61.0, 71.6. So we can assert with 95% confidence that the interval from this to this minutes contains the true average drying time of the paint. Okay. Now, next we have this a simple random sample of pickpocket offences yielded the losses in rupees shown in the following table. So use the data to find a 95% confidence interval for the mean loss of all pickpocket offences. So here we have n is 25. Okay.
So again T curve, right?
So in the last problem, let us just okay. So here you can see that nothing is written or given about the normality of the population or the sample. Okay. So in this type of cases, we should first check the condition. So this problem 4 or example 4, actually we do that. Okay. So because the sample size is small, moderate, we first need to consider questions of normality and outliers. Okay. So to do that, we constructed the normal probability plot. So I think you can search this in Google. Okay, normal probability, how to construct normal probability plot, and from there the plot reveals no outliers and falls roughly in a straight line. Okay, you can see that it is all the points are almost in a line. Okay, so we can apply the interval procedure to find the confidence interval. So if it is decided, then finding interval is not difficult. Okay, you just have to put the values only, because degree of freedom is 25 minus 1, it will be 24. So corresponding to DOF, degree of freedom 24, we have to find the value T 0.025, and that is 2.064. So this value you can obtain from the table. And what else we require, n is given. Okay, we can find X bar and S, okay, from the given data. So X bar here, X bar is 513.32, and standard deviation is 262.23. So you just substitute all these values here. Okay, so we get this. So we can be 95% confident that the mean loss of all pickpocket offense is somewhere between rupees 405 and 621. like that. There is another problem. Cylindrical compressive strength in MPa was measured for 11 beams. Now 11, you can see that it is sample is too small. The results were this. Okay, is it appropriate to use the student's T statistic to construct a 95% confidence interval for the mean cylindrical compressive strength? If so, construct the confidence interval. If not, explain why not. Okay, so let us see. So here, this a box plot is constructed, and you can see that this dot plot is also there, and you can see that there is an outlier. Okay, so we'll make a box plot and dot plot of the sample. These are shown in the figure. Okay, there is an outlier in this sample. Okay, and therefore it is advisable not to use this T statistics to find confidence interval here. If you still want to use, then what we can do, I think, we can leave this point. Okay, we can leave this outlier, and then we can construct the confidence interval. Okay, so in this way we can find confidence interval. This is for mean. Okay, so what we have seen this. This is a mu. Okay, and we have obtained two values here. Okay, which are equal in length from mu. Okay, this value and this value. So now we will see the effect of sample size on the length of the confidence interval. Okay, so this is the length of the confidence interval in case of T and in case of Z. Okay, what is actually this value is there in case of Z? It is x bar minus sigma upon root n Z alpha by 2. Okay, this is left, and the right one is x bar plus sigma upon root n Z alpha by 2. Okay, so if you subtract this number, rather this number from this one, you can see that it will be 2 sigma Z alpha by 2 by root n. Okay, so this is the length of the interval. Similarly, in case of T curves or T intervals, this is the length of intervals. Okay, and I should also like to say here is that this value is called error actually. What error actually I not remembering that, but this length, half of the length of the interval is actually called error in the calculation of confidence interval, we can say. Okay, so error is half of the length of the interval. Yeah, either L by 2 we can say. That will be Z alpha by 2 sigma by root n. Okay, so from this you can see that L is inversely proportional to root n. Okay, L is proportional to 1 by root n or inversely proportional to root n. Okay, so from this you can see that if we increase the number of size, sample size, then the length of the interval is going to decrease. Okay, so we can obtain a confidence interval of certain length. And similarly, if we want to find a length L0, confidence interval of length L0, then our sample size should be greater than or equal to this number. these are all calculated from that result. This one, L is equal to 2z alpha by 2 sigma by root n from there. Okay. So just find the bound for n. So n must be greater than or equal to this number. Okay. Similarly for z also, you just replace t alpha by 2 by z alpha by 2. So 4 into z alpha by 2 sigma L0 here square. Okay. And similarly, these regions can also be used to find the additional sampling. Okay, what additional sampling is required to reduce the length of a confidence interval that has been constructed from an initial sample. So there is a sample. Okay, say we can say sample 1, and we have obtained a confidence interval of length 1. Okay, but what we want a confidence interval of length L2. Then how much additional sampling is required that we can use or find with the help of these results. Okay. So here you can see that, for example, if the initial sample gives the length L, this is initial sample N1. Okay, for example, if the initial sample of N1 observation is obtained, that is the sample standard deviation is, so this is initially we get this. But if the experimenter decides that the additional sampling is required in order to reduce the confidence interval length to L0, so this L0 naturally must be less than L. The experimenter can expect that a total sample size n will be sufficient as long as this. So for example, if you want to construct L0 length confidence interval, and if the sample size required is n, then this n must be greater than or equal to this. So from here, I can obtain n. What is this value? This value is the number of sample elements required to get a confidence interval of length L0. I have already obtained, or rather we have N1, which gives confidence interval of length L. Okay, so what additional sampling is required? Okay, this n minus n1 is the additional sampling. So this n minus 1 is the size of the additional sample required, which can then be combined with the initial sample of size n1. Okay. So it is like that. So let us see this problem. A team of efficiency expert intends to use the mean of random sample of size n is equal to 150. Okay, to estimate the average mechanical aptitude of assembly line workers in a large industry. If based on experience, the efficiency experts can assume that sigma is 6.2 for such data, what can they assert with probability 0.99 about the maximum error of their estimate? Okay. So what can they assert with probability 0.99 about the maximum error? Okay, so under this data, what will be the maximum error subject to 99% confidence? Okay. So as I said earlier, that error is half of the length of the interval. So this error is actually it will be this one, Z alpha by 2 sigma upon Z alpha by 2 into sigma upon root n. So everything is given. You can see that n is 150. Sigma is also given. And since confidence level is given 99% with probability 0.99, means 99%. So we can find this Z alpha by 2 value. So n is 150, sigma is 6.2, and Z is 0.005. That this value is actually 2.575. So you just substitute all this. The maximum error will be. So this one is your Z alpha by 2 sigma by root n. So this is, let's say, maximum error. So we can say that with confidence of 99% that maximum error could be 1.30 or error will be less than 1.30. Now there is another one, the sample mean and standard deviation for the field weights of 100 boxes are this. So both are given, mean and standard deviation. How many boxes must be sampled to obtain a 99% confidence interval of width 0.012 plus minus? Okay. So here length L0 is given. Then confidence interval, confidence level is given, mean is given, and standard deviation is given. Okay, and n is also given 100 boxes. So you can just substitute this value. So this is actually, we can say that it is population, not our sample. We have to calculate the sample size here. How many boxes must be sampled? Okay, so we required n. So we have seen this n is greater than or equal to this one. We can use this region. Okay. So ASL0 and T alpha by 2, all these values we can substitute here to find the lower limit of n. Okay. So you can see that Z alpha by 2 is there, and alpha is there, and standard deviation is there. And what else is required? No, standard deviation and in Z alpha by 2. So this value comes out to be 0.01. Okay, so we have to solve this actually. This will be n greater than or equal to that value. So this is the minimum value actually. 463 is the minimum, right?
सर इस तरह के क्वेश्चन आए तो 100% मार्क्स हैं एकदम.
हाँ.
और प्रैक्टिकल में भी काफी यूजफुल है ये.
हाँ. So I think I should stop now. If you have any doubt, you can ask me.